It's the unboxing at the Henson Company.
I'm Joe.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Dave.
That doesn't rhyme.
We have Karen Falk, so we can't go wrong.
The Jim Henson Company with ToughPigs.com.
Unboxing!
Hey everybody, we're from Muppet fan site ToughPigs.com. We are here at the Jim Henson Company offices. The Henson Archives have set up some boxes. We don't know what's inside. Could be anything. We're going to open them up. We're going to find out and hopefully see some cool Henson relics. So let's check out what's in those boxes.
So I have another box from the file room of the archives.
Another box.
Yes, and this one is Dark Crystal, and these are all drafts of the script and the screenplay. So this was in development over many years, and so there were lots of different drafts, starting from Jim's first idea, the crystal, and then he had various versions, and so I think if you guys just want to take a look at some of these.
Yeah.
Well, this is an outline, and you can get a sense for.
These are Jim's notes.
These are not Jim's notes, actually. Oh,
Someone else's handwriting.
they're someone else's handwriting.
Someone just doodled on the script.
But we have various versions of the script, various versions of story outlines.
I want to point out this one plot point. The Emperor dies, no comedy.
No comedy.
It
That's
says no
important.
comedy. Don't laugh when the Emperor dies.
Well,
This
I'm
is
sure-
we're not joking around, you guys.
You know, these
the Emperor's really
puppeteers-
gone.
These puppeteers were coming from the Muppet Show and that kind of stuff, so it probably was tempting to insert comedy into the movie in their performances.
How long was the script in development for Dark Crystal?
Well, they didn't shoot until 81, I guess, and Jim started writing stuff in 77. So, there was Jim's handwritten story, The Crystal, and then that got typed up. And so that was a jumping off. This is copy number 12.
Wow.
So this is, the typed version of that,
Wow.
A lot of room for changes.
which Jim would not have typed himself, of course. But we have various copies
had people
of
to do
that. He did.
He was busy doing 9,000 other things.
Yeah.
Here's
Sometimes
something
simultaneously.
else. This was when they were starting to starting to figure out pitch documents.
And this
I
is
know
called
it's-
The Legend of the Chrysalis.
Legend of the Chrysalis, working title. It says a fantasy adventure film conceived by Jim Henson, designed by Brian Froud, dimensionalized by the Muppets.
Dimensionalized.
Wow.
That's quite a word.
So that's and so there's some little sketches. This is just a photocopy, but and then little descriptions of what's happening in the story. And this eventually evolved into sort of the pitch document, which if you got the new printing of The World of the Dark Crystal, we reproduced the pitch document, and it's glued into the back of that
Oh,
book.
that's cool.
So I don't know whether you ever
have
saw
it.
that. You have
It's
it. Okay.
very awesome.
I'm so glad. This is the Mithra, the mythical Mithra treatment, which Jim wrote in 1977. In August of 77, I think he connected with Brian Froud. July, something, right in that summer was the first time he sent somebody out to get, to first meet Brian. But this was the very, very first idea. This is before those outlines that he wrote, before the snowstorm, which was in the beginning of February of 78. So this was the very first idea, his very first description of the world of Mithra.
I see that he named the kid Brian in this one.
Yeah,
I wonder where he came up with that name.
I don't know, very clever, but
And Dark Crystal fans know that it takes place in a world called Thra. Do you know at what point and or why he changed that from Mithra to Thra?
well, it cost extra for the extra.
Oh, the two letters.
letters,
There you go.
right,
That's
right,
it.
yeah. But no, I don't know.
Days of typesetting, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Before the Gutenberg or something. But the rocks and boulders are not stationary. And that was something that was really important to the idea for Jim and for Brian Froud as well. The idea that the landscape was a living creature, an animated creature. So, on Sesame Street we have talking cakes and, all sorts of objects that are animated. And Jim really saw his world that way, whether it was singing trees or singing mountains. And you see that, not just on Sesame Street, but he had this idea, I guess on Coos Bane, there are those lumps, George and Martha, that talk. And of course he loved Walt Disney's Snow White, and the trees are menacing in that,
yeah.
or he also loved The Wizard of Oz, and of course the trees are very so he really wanted to embrace that idea in this film and have all sorts of plants that did things.
It's interesting too, like it says specifically the rocks and boulders, and then in the labyrinth, the rocks are actually
alive.
sentient.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's the Mithra treatment. This I love. This is actually an outline that Frank Oz wrote, and he was the co-director on this. And Jim distributed these different stories to his closest colleagues and to get their ideas. And so this is Frank's sort of outline of how he saw the movie charting out. And he has a little note to Jim at the top. This is another outline based on your original outline.
Huh.
I've written it up to the point when Jen and Dee Ari, that was going to be Kira, are paddling toward the castle. I'd like to talk with you more about what happens after that, Oz. And so he's got an idea. He says he's talking about the mystics here. He says it's my suggestion that the individual names of the Uors should not be separated from their generic names. So in this version, I'll spell their names without using the hyphen. We were talking about the hyphen, so.
There's a lot of importance with the hyphen.
Put a lot of thought into all of this stuff.
That's something that's important to remember about that. Every detail really was very much thought out.
Even because really the audience never even knows any of these characters' names, the mystics or the Skeksis. So.
And yet, that was an important part
Right.
of building this world and of the sort of ideas behind it.
Well, and it's nice that Jim was open to that kind of collaboration this early on, and not just stuck with like I have a vision and I want to see it through. No. Like a lot of people have a lot of good ideas.
You can see he talks about that in interviews about the movie, that it wasn't just his movie, it was a collaboration between him and Brian Froud and Frank Oz and all the puppeteers and everybody.
Do you know how many, like by the final draft, how many drafts that had been?
I think the shooting script was kind of the fifth draft. I mean, what you would call like, this one is the fourth draft, and this one says a screenplay.
Do you know off the top of your head if there were any like major significant changes? Was there ever like a moment of, well, maybe Kira won't be revived at the end of the movie? Or
Well, I haven't compared them all scene by scene, but I was just looking into the scene when they're getting to the castle. They go in underground, and for many, many drafts, there was a scene where they encounter the underground miners, this tribe of miners that are mining jewels and metal, and the Gartham are coming, and they kind of help Jen escape, but then the Gartham capture Kira, and then she's taken, and then Kira is going to be given to the scientists because they're going to do this research on fertility or something like that, because I don't know how the Skeksis reproduce, but that was the storyline that was in very, very many of these drafts. And these minor characters were designed and built and tested on camera, and then that whole scene went away. I think they didn't want their movie to be 7 hours long.
Right.
But all that work then was just cut.
So, well, this is 1979, so this is actually earlier. This is probably the first draft of the actual screenplay. But this is Jim Henson and David Odell.
Nice.
It has this lovely cover.
Yeah.
Which I like.
So what was Jim's process like, keeping track of all these notes and different things?
So much stuff here.
Well, Jim was a great one to write things down, and you're familiar with Jim's Red Book, which was the journal that he started in 1965 and noted down sort of everything he was doing. And so whenever he met with somebody or he was writing a proposal or writing an idea down, a treatment for something, he made a note of it in that, so he could remind himself.
So never get rid of anything. Ideas, archives, just keep hoarding, keep storing it all.
And make sure you back up your files.
And back up.
Yes.
Everyone back up your files. That's
what we
the
have
moral
here.
of the story
Yes.
here.
So.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for showing
Well,
this
you're
to
welcome.
us.
I'm glad that you could take a look.
And as always, there's going to be more stuff on darkcrystal.com.
And more other stuff at toughpigs.com.
Unboxing!